You are so tough mentally.
Body image has nothing to do with the way your body actually looks. I was already petite, but of course, you never think you're thin enough.
You have to find your why. You got this. No, we gotta be in tune.
3, 2, 1.
You see? We're like twins.
Kind of.
Can I just say this? Women need to be feminists amongst themselves, because I honestly didn't think I was gonna like you this much until I got to know you.
Okay, let's talk about that because I want to know what you mean by that.
So I'm a person that I am all about energy, but I'm also like an introvert.
Me too.
I look like I'm an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. So I feel a lot of energy and everything around me. So usually when I walk out, I'm very, like guarded. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think I was gonna like you this much. Like, you're cool. No. Like, you're cool. You're one of the most inspiring women that I've met.
That's so nice.
It wasn't until I got to know you that...
Was it in Berlin last year or after?
It's like everything. Yeah. I'm still getting to know you.
Uh-huh.
Like, you're tough.
I'm stubborn. And, yeah.
You are tough. I call you the bully. No, not the bully.
The bully. No, the bull.
Edit that.
Correction.
I call you the bull.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you are pretty tenacious. And when someone looks at you from the outside, they don't know that you are this tenacious.
You wouldn't know that. Mm-hmm.
You are so tough mentally. And I think people should see that, because it comes in like this cute little package that you would never know. And I think that's important. So it's been great to know you. I don't even know what we're going to talk about today, but I think the conversation is going to be intelligent and funny.
Very complimentary intro.
Of course. All right. So let's talk. How long have you been training and why you started training?
Okay. Long time ago. I started lifting weights in 2008. I was in high school still. I was a senior in high school. And to understand why I started lifting weights, you got to rewind a little bit more from when I was a young teenager. So I grew up very, very active, playing sports for fun, swimming, running, everything. I did everything. Then when you enter your teen years, as many of us have experienced, you start to become more self-conscious about the way that you look. Your peers start talking about dieting and she's pretty because she's skinny, this and that, right? So you start to feel the pressures. And so I started looking, sadly, at exercise as a modality to make your body smaller, which I think a lot of women and other people can relate strongly to. So I started relying on a lot of running because I was on the cross country team, I was on the swim team, a lot of running and a lot of swimming, a lot of cardio to try and keep my body small, which is very sad because I was already small to begin with. I was already petite, but of course, when you are surrounded by that kind of talk, you never think you're thin enough.
And culturally too.
Yes, I was living in Korea at the time. And even though obviously in America, it's very much an issue as well, but in Korea, the standards are even higher. Where someone who's considered maybe like average size in America, in Korea, you would be considered bigger. You'd be like a size large, right? So the standards are much higher. But I'm naturally, petite obviously, but I'm not naturally stick thin. And that was the look that I was going for. And imagine, you're 14, 15 years old, worried about that. How sad is that? Like, you're so young. You're so and you're worried about, how much do I weigh? So anyway, I became obsessed with using cardio as a calorie burning modality. And then I was 18. I was at my local Albertsons, which is a chain grocery store, and I walked down the magazine aisle and I passed by fitness magazine. And on the cover, I don't even know I wish I remember who it was. There was a fitness model on the cover, and she had a sports bra on. She had abs. She had, developed shoulders, caps and delts and arms and everything. She looked really, really fit in a way that I hadn't really seen before. And again, this is 2008, so quite a while ago. And I remember being so enamored because it was the first time I saw someone who looked like that without being necessarily a professional athlete. right? So of course I pick up the magazine and I'm like, how do you get this look? So I became obsessed with having the muscular, lean, fit, that kind of look, right? So then I started learning about clean eating, proteins, carbs, and fats, which I had no knowledge of macronutrients before then. You could have asked me, is butter a carb, which is famous line from Mean Girls. I legitimately couldn't have told you. I don't know. So that's when I first started learning about, here's why protein is important, here's XYZ. So I became obsessed with clean eating. I became obsessed with lifting weights right away. So I taught myself how to lift weights from the magazines. Then this is also back when different online fitness forums were big. So I started lurking on different fitness forums where I'd try to read as much as I could. I would come up with, I'd find different bicep routines. I do bicep curls for an hour, different bicep curl variations for an hour. This is back when you have a lot of enthusiasm, but of course you don't really know yet how to filter between credible information and the junk information. So you kind of take whatever you can get. And it was really exciting for me. It was fun. So what was nice about that was that I changed my mindset from how can I eat as little as possible and do as much cardio as possible to how can I lift weights to build muscle and how can my nutrition support the muscle growth. So in that regard, it was really good. Maybe you can relate to this. But the problem was I still became obsessed in a different way, right? So I was still really rigid about my eating, where I refused to eat anything deep fried and which of course to an extent can be good, but not if you're super, super rigid, right? And if it negatively impacts your quality of life, not a great thing. So I was very much a perfectionist, where if I deviated at all from my very, very strict nutrition plan that I had made for myself, I would become extremely moody. I'd throw a fit and so on. So basically, that's how I started lifting weights. Magazine, obsession, following routines I saw online and in different magazines. That's how I learned. Then in college in 2010, I was actually pre-med at the time, but I became a certified personal trainer for fun on the side in case I want to train people on the side, who knows? Then 3 years later, I became a certified strength and conditioning specialist. And basically I kept going down the weightlifting, the lifting path, and essentially kind of accidentally made it into a career. And I'm still doing it today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know, I had the opposite. I'm naturally thin.
Yeah.
And those things change, I would say. The older that I've gotten, the harder it's been, and it's not because of my metabolism. I carry a lot of muscle, right? But because of the responsibilities that come with being an adult, with owning a business, X, Y, and Z, right? But I was the opposite. I did not want to be small. I went through
your
so
motivations
much
were different.
and I wanted to be strong.
Yeah.
Because of how weak I felt. And I've always worked out for mental health. That actually was my path. If you follow me, you already know that I am all about processing my emotions through my body. And I've been a very emotional human being. If I'm angry, I'm lifting. Now I've taken on running, which...
Did a marathon recently.
Whoop, whoop. It broke me, but...
You did it. You crossed that finish line.
Yes. And I thought I was really strong up until I did that, because it shifted my entire identity. So going back to the reasons why we use exercise, there is a point that I wanted to make, because this is going to be very relatable to every woman that is listening to this. You have to find your why. Because if you don't have your why, there's not going to be any consistency.
Yeah.
There is this very universal process or thought process as to why most people train, and it's for the body. I want to get skinny. I want to gain weight. I want to make it about my glutes or the size of my waist. And that usually is not going to be a long-term activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's delayed gratification. Like, I'll give you an example. If you go out to a bar and you drink alcohol, there's an immediate feeling that you feel, right? With exercise, it's delayed. Yes, you feel the benefits of endorphins and dopamine. Once you're out of, depending on how deconditioned and how unhealthy you are, right? You're going to break through and you're going to feel good, right? But initially, whatever you're trying to get from exercise is usually delayed. It doesn't happen overnight. So people just tend to attach exercise to an aesthetic result, and usually they fail. And we see this with, thousands and thousands of people trying to be fit for the wrong reasons. Having a why is extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to mention, not only does the research show that exercising purely for aesthetic reasons is actually not good for long-term exercise consistency, we also know that too much focus on aesthetics is not good for your body image either. Now, a lot of people think, this is contrary to what the research actually says. A lot of people think that if you focus more on the way your body looks, your body image will improve because they believe that a smaller body always equals better body image. That's not the case. Body image has nothing to do with the way your body actually looks. You can be someone in a bigger body with better body image than someone who is rail thin who has worse body image because it's subjective. And it's influenced by so many things outside of how do you actually look. Not to mention, you look in the mirror, you can have, body dysmorphia. If you have extreme body dysmorphia, you think you look completely different from the way you actually are.
Yes.
Obviously, I think it's a lot of us can relate to having been there before or maybe still struggling with it now. I definitely have. Even when I was a thinner, I had worse body image than I do now.
Yeah.
And so we know that if your reason for exercising goes deeper than I want to have abs, or I want to be thin, not only do you enjoy the exercise more, you are more likely to keep after it year after year, which we know for health purposes is the far most important thing, is whatever you can do consistently is the thing that's going to be good for you, exercise-wise.
I think we all can relate, and I know that you can relate to the ups and downs of fitness. Did you ever compete?
Unfortunately, yeah. I don't know if I should have said that. Yes, I have. Brief stint in bikini. I also did powerlifting, but I'm assuming you're referring to like bodybuilding.
Yeah, bodybuilding.
I did bikini briefly, and I'm glad I didn't stay in it. I can go on a whole rant about that. But yes, I did, and it was not good for body image. I would say that I feel better now than I did in my 20s. And physically, yes, but mentally, 100%. Mostly mentally. But I also think a lot of it comes with learning through the mistakes that we made, and now we know better. Now we know what's more important.
What's the meanest thing you've ever gotten on social media?
I feel like I've blocked it from my memory. I mean, I can talk about a more recent example that's definitely not the meanest thing that anyone ever said that I addressed recently, which is related to my pregnancy. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. We talked about this recently, but I like to be, I don't consider myself a super positive person necessarily. I think I'm more of a realist in that if I'm having a bad time, I don't want to pretend like everything's great. So when I was going through my first trimester, we know, first of all, that people experience the whole range of, you can have zero symptoms in your first trimester. You can have hyperemesis gravidarum and end up in the hospital because you're so dehydrated and malnourished. That can happen too. I was somewhere in the middle where my nausea and my fatigue were actually quite intense, and I also started experiencing, round ligament pain, indigestion, heartburn, things like that. And so, yes, you're uncomfortable. It makes everything harder for a few weeks. And so I was kind of candidly talking about that. And I was saying, I felt so tired today that I took a nap that was this long. And even after my nap, it took me another 30 minutes to get out of bed. Then after I got out of bed, I sat on the couch for an hour before I could then bring myself to the gym to do my workout. Giving some context, yes, I'm pregnant, but it took me a while it was hard to even show up to the gym. And so I would say the vast majority of my audience is very supportive, and they like hearing these things. They're like, oh, it's nice to know what to expect. And it's nice to feel that I'm not alone in my experiences, with first trimester as well. And then, meanwhile, some people are being quite nasty. I'm sure you got similar when you were pregnant too. And they're like, you're the most dramatic person ever. Who cares? And I think what really upset me was that those comments came from other women. And it really reminded me of a lot of the internalized misogyny that we still have, where in pregnancy, yes, but in everything, people don't want to hear about other women, quote unquote, complaining. And it's as if you have to always pretend that everything is super great and downplay any negative experiences you have. And to me, that is so unhelpful, because I think I went into first trimester not realizing how unpleasant it could be, how miserable I was going to be. Thankfully, I'm out of it. I'm in my second trimester now, and the symptoms have gotten a lot better. But I said, I wish that more women had spoken up about how much they struggled in first trimester, rather than saying, oh yeah, I was a little bit nauseous, I was a little bit tired. No, tell me in detail how tired you actually were. That way, at least I can go in with eyes wide open and feel better, more emotionally prepared. So that's my take on it. But I'm like, I'll also tell you when I'm having a great day, or when I'm excited. Like, I had really good energy today. I was really productive. And then some people are still complaining about that too. They don't want to hear anything. Right? And so I think the reason I got frustrated from that was that I was thinking, why are women doing this to other women? That's what frustrated me. You might have different thoughts.
Well, when I was pregnant, it was negative comments about how I wasn't showing and how I was hurting my baby because I had a really high level of fitness and training that I maintained up until I was 40 weeks pregnant. Right. And that was alarming. I didn't start showing until I was like maybe 6.5, 7 months. I had a six pack the entire time. And people need to understand I was at my fittest. So when you have all this muscle around your stomach, I had like a belt, and the baby's really small up until, when I popped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like overnight.
So because you didn't fit the conventional standard of how they think a pregnant woman should look, they got upset about that?
Yeah. And when you asked me how I was feeling, I told you, if I felt like I needed, so I can be compulsive with a lot of things, a perfectionist with a lot of things, and that's okay. That's just my kind of like personality. But I went really healthy. I was so healthy during my pregnancy, and it was intentional. It was intentional because...
Was it like as soon as you found out you were pregnant, you changed your diet?
Yeah, I found out I was pregnant after a Tough Mudder.
Right, I remember you telling me this.
And I said to myself, wait a second, I am not performing the way that I...
Right, because you said the only thing you noticed at the time was you were more out of breath or something like that?
I was super out of breath, and then I was blue.
You're like, what's wrong?
At the end of the day, I'm like, this is not me. And that's how I found out the pregnancy test. But this can be, what we can say about this is that there will be a range of different scenarios for everyone. Every single woman is going to be different. But I wanted to make a point because when I was pregnant at the time that I did it all. And I believe that my pregnancy was so smooth because I was training.
Yes, exercise is so important during pregnancy.
Correct. There was a lot of misconception 8-9 years ago.
Still is, yeah.
And just to prove that you are a bull, you're running a marathon.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Correct.
I'll get back
and
to you in a
are
few
training.
Weeks. Yes.
Literally, we had an 11-hour flight. We landed.
Yeah.
And then you went on your run.
Yes.
So the resilience...
I got a schedule.
This woman.
I was waddling a bit, but I still got it done.
I was like, yeah, she's coming. She's wobbling.
Yeah.
But, I think it's so important. And the reason why we're having this conversation is to show, not only did I want to interview you because you're very knowledgeable in the space that you study and research, but also because there's not a lot of representation as an Asian woman, I know that there are more women going into strength training, but training and strength training is so important. There's a mental benefit, a physical benefit, and a longevity benefit along the way. So we want more women to step into the gym. We want more women to have access to the right information as to where they are in their journeys, how to start, right? Not everyone has the same starting point. And I think, when you go out and see social media, what you see, you often puts a barrier that most women wouldn't even step into the gym because they feel like they have to be at a level that doesn't even coincide with where they are.
Yeah.
And I know that this is what you studied in your research.
Yes, I can talk about that a little bit if you want. So my PhD is in sports science. I got my diploma like 2 months ago, so pretty new.
Congratulations, doctor.
Thank you. That sounds weird, but
Hey,
I guess
doctor.
that is appropriate title now. And essentially, so specifically, I was studying resistance training in women, the exact topic we're discussing today. It's been something I've been interested in for a very long time, obviously. And one of the chapters of my thesis actually consisted of a survey where we polled over 4,000 women about what are your perceived benefits and barriers to resistance training. And I say perceived because even if two people have the exact same lifestyles, one person might perceive time as a bigger barrier, as an example, right? Or we can be equally busy, but you might be better at making time for exercise than me. So then I would be like, I have no time, whereas you're like, no, you make time, right? Big difference in mindset. And what we found, which is consistent with prior research, is that not only did between people who were resistance training regularly, people like you and me, versus people who were not, everyone seemed to understand the health benefits of lifting. They knew it was good for them. They're like, yeah, I know that. The difference came down to the perceived barriers. In that, people like you and me, we perceive our barriers to lifting as much, much smaller than people who are not lifting consistently. Their perceived barriers, the biggest one was time and effort. So especially if you are, a mother with multiple children, for example, and you have a lot of at-home responsibilities, you might find it a lot harder to get away to the gym and carve out that time for yourself. And again, a lot of this is perceived, right? Because there are ways to work around it. You can buy weights to use at home. You can put together makeshift weights. Even if you don't want to buy dumbbells, you can put together a duffel bag and put sacks of rice and bottled water and things like that and lift that. During the pandemic, I had clients who would take a laundry basket, fill it with heavy items, and use that as a weight to like deadlift. There's always ways around it. And then the other one was effort, or things like, I don't want to make the drive to and from the gym, or I don't want to take the time to try to figure out what kinds of workouts to do or how to do the certain exercises. So those were the biggest barriers to lifting.
As a new mom, and I know like this is like a new mom, just, yes, you are. But have you thought about what you need to reframe when the baby comes? Or do you know, based on your personality and the knowledge that you have, that you're just going to make time for it?
Yeah, I think I know that logistically it'll be a lot more difficult because right now I have the freedom to, I have the luxury of working for myself with a very flexible schedule from home. Huge luxury. That means I can technically exercise whenever I want. I also have 2 private gyms. Again, very privileged. So it's quite easy for me to say I can lift at 6 a.m., I can lift at noon, I can lift at 9 p.m. if I wanted to. And having a supportive partner, obviously my husband's super supportive. I could literally say, babe, I want to work out at 10 p.m. tonight. He'd be like, okay, do it. If that's going to make you happy, do it. So having that support system is obviously huge. I know when the baby comes, it's going to be trickier to figure out when is a good time because you have to consider obviously the baby's needs and the baby's schedules and whatnot. But I know I'm going to stay consistent, but I'm also very open-minded to what those workouts looking like being different than what they are now, And I'm looking forward to the challenge. Actually, I'm not intimidated by it. I think it's something that I will be well prepared for, and I think I have the right resources and the support systems in place for that to still be something that I can do. For example, I'm already thinking about, whenever it's cleared for me to start running again, postpartum, I'm going to get one of those, really durable strollers where I can run, where I jog with the baby in the stroller.
And can you tell me the why? Why?
It's really important for me to keep exercising. So my why actually has changed a lot. In the beginning, when I first started lifting in 2008, as I said, it was all about aesthetics, looking a certain way, right? And I think it's very natural too, very common as you get older for your why to evolve over time, especially now that I'm pregnant. Even my why for running the marathon has changed. I went from, I want to run a marathon again. I did the London Marathon earlier this year. I want to run the marathon again because I want to redeem my performance because I didn't do as well as I wanted to in London because it was really hot that day.
Was that your first marathon?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was my initial why. And I was like, I really don't feel like I pushed myself to my fullest fitness potential back in April. And that's why I want to do another one. That was my why initially. And I was like, I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm capable of doing more, and I want to do that. Now, I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant. I'll be almost 18 weeks by the time I do the New York City Marathon. My why now is, one, I think it's really important, as you said, for the mom to continue doing things that make her happy, right? Because yes, I actually, I got a little bit of pushback from people. Why are you doing the marathon? You're pregnant now. Well, one, I have medical clearance. My doctor is not concerned. Two, I have the level of fitness already from prior to pregnancy to continue doing what I'm doing, which we know that's a big thumbs up exercise-wise. If you've been doing it before, you can continue doing it. Obviously, barring things like contact sports or any stuff. Like I wouldn't be like wrestling right now, for example, but running is fine. And three, I have this image of crossing the finish line with me and my baby that makes me really emotional.
Oh.
And I think it's very important to show other women you can still do things when you're pregnant. You can still live your life and pursue your goals, even if they're harder physical things. And I love that. Yeah, I'm like, don't cry. But yeah, I really want to do it. So, and then for post-pregnancy, to answer your actual question, because I backtracked a bit, after pregnancy, I want to stay strong. I want to keep moving well. I want to, as I get older, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm older now, so I limp when I walk and this hurts and I can't do this, I can't lift that. No, I want to be able to do all the things. And I want to be like, oh, I'm going to go, my baby and I are going to go work out together. We're going to run together. And I can keep up.
There's a deeper message that I want to get into. The fact of the matter is, if you were not training before, if you didn't take care of yourself, you would not be able to do the things that you are doing right now.
Yeah.
Which it's proven the point of why women should be in the gym strength training.
Yeah.
And if you actually look at the numbers, because most women think that they're just going to gain all this muscle and look all buff and look insane because they're lifting heavy and whatnot, but it takes
It's hard.
It is very hard.
And by the way, I don't have the genetic propensity to gain muscle that easily. I've learned this, unfortunately, and it was a sad reality for me. I've come to accept it. It's fine, but it is much harder than you would think to gain muscle. And the other thing too that a lot of women don't do is pushing yourself hard enough in the gym.
Yes.
Because you can show up and go through the motions and use lighter weights. I see a lot of times people will be lifting, shoulder pressing, and they're going like this, and they're having a casual conversation with their friend while they're lifting. And you're not pushing yourself hard enough. And I think some part of it is maybe they don't know. Part of it is also, which is the feedback that I've gotten anecdotally from clients saying, a lot of times when I'm lifting by myself, I'm not confident of my form, so I don't want to push myself too hard in case I get hurt. So that's another thing too.
Man, I wanted to make another point. I think women are incredible.
I agree.
You understand what we do every single day? You're literally bleeding. You have 1 week of normalcy in a 28-day cycle.
And we do everything. Yeah.
And we do everything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I think we're so incredible. I want to see more women giving themselves the power to stay resilient and to stay healthy and to stay strong.
Yeah.
Because the difference is It's huge.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I've been, very loving women, supporting women, mega feminist for a long time. But ever since I became pregnant, I'm somehow even more of a feminist because with the way my first trimester went, I was like, you mean to tell me that there are women who experience what I was experiencing or worse, and they still they still wake up early in the morning and they go to work and they sit at their desk for 8 to 10 hours a day, or they're client facing and they have to put on a happy face even when they're feeling completely miserable, and they put on a brave face and then they come home and they exercise and they still take care of themselves. We're doing all of this while you're growing a baby and feeling horrible.
Yeah.
How can you not think women are incredible?
Yeah.
That they're doing all of those things.
Yeah. When I had my daughter, it really gave me perspective. It actually made me a better coach. It made me better because I understood
yes, I believe that.
where people were.
Yeah.
It was such a gnarly experience
Yeah.
to say, well, okay, well, now I have this baby. What did I do?
Yeah.
It made me more empathetic.
Yes.
It made me appreciate myself more, which is why I said everything changed when I had my daughter. I lost all my connection to my posterior chain. I had diastasis recti.
Yeah.
I had postpartum depression, right? My baby wasn't even latching onto my breast. I had to pump for 6 months. My first job postpartum was 2 weeks after I gave birth.
First job doing what?
For Target. I was doing something for Target.
Oh, like a partnership?
And I remember a partnership.
Wow. That's soon.
Soon. I never stopped working.
Yeah.
And I think that perspective of being a mom and all the sacrifices that I've had to do, like Indy grounded me. Yeah. She grounded me in ways that I could never tell you. And it was probably one of the best, not one of the best thing that ever happened into my life because I became a better human.
Yeah. And I bet you to your audience probably made you maybe more relatable in some ways too, because they're like, okay, now you're a mom, now you understand the difficulties that they experience and they prefer that. And maybe the advice that you give then makes more sense to them. Because you're providing solutions that work for you too, as a mom, that they need.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And I will say, if I did not exercise, I would not have the energy that I have. Training changed my life. Training will change your life. You're never too old. It's never too late. You can start where you are.
And you can still build strength and muscle in your 70s, in your 80s.
Yep.
It's literally never too late. I have people in the 40s saying, is it too late for me to start lifting? It's early. You have so much time. Okay, take-home messages.
Find your why.
Find your why. It's never too late to lift weights.
Prioritize yourself.
And I think the benefits of lifting weights go far beyond aesthetics. You'll probably have more fun if your why is more about how it makes you feel, how it makes you move better, things like that, how it translates to your everyday life. Lifting is for everybody.
Yeah. You got this.
The end.
You got this.